21-year-old customer service manager Ryan Sells is suing his co-worker, 18-year-old inventory clerk Kristen Ballou, for having him falsely arrested for a sexual assault. Kristen says Ryan fondled her at work.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 69 on the calendar in the matter of Sells versus Ballou. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Sells, it is your claim that the defendant filed false charges of sexual assault against you, and ultimately those charges were dismissed. I assume they were dismissed after a trial. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want to be compensated?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you know the defendant.
The defendant is an employee that I work with. I am her supervisor.
And how long have you worked together?
I believe about a year.
Now, according to your complaint, something happened with the defendant's boyfriend that sort of precipitated all of this. You want to tell me about that?
Yes, ma'am. Beginning in February, Mr. Alphen, the defendant's boyfriend, began leaving threatening notes on my car. I reported them to the police. The first time they said it could be just a mistake, so they wanted to let it go. If it happened again, to come see them. So I did. It happened again in March. I got another threatening note. I had the police come down.
Do you have those notes?
I do have part of one. It was raining outside, so it got pretty destroyed. The other one is at the police station as evidence. So I'm going to give this to the judge, please.
Tell me my job.
Okay. How many notes in total did the defendant's boyfriend leave on your car?
I received 2. After the second one, I went to the police again, and they came to my place of employment. We watched the surveillance tapes to discover that it was Mr. Alphen.
You didn't know who it was at the time?
Not until I saw the surveillance tapes.
Go ahead.
When they found out who it was, they asked me what I wanted to do about it, and I said I would like to file a complaint. I filed a complaint on the 23rd, and they said they were going to talk to him or have him arrested because he had admitted to it because they had talked to him previously. He was arrested, and then an hour after he was arrested, Miss Ballou went to the police and told them that I had sexually assaulted her between the dates of March 1st through March 4th. She couldn't remember when. However, on the citation when I was arrested, she narrowed it down to March 4th at 12:30 p.m.
Do you have those complaints?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
Also, on the time that she claims it occurred, Miss Ballou claims it occurred at 12:30 p.m. March 4th. However, I have coinciding records that show Miss Ballou did not clock in for work until 12:57 that day. There would be no possible way in that 27 minutes I could do an override or a supervisor function for her if she had not even gotten a register yet or been at work.
So what happened when you were arrested, Mr. Sells? You were arrested, ultimately, I assume you had to hire a lawyer, you were given a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
You hired a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
What happened with the boyfriend's case?
We were both given the date of May 2nd. However, I moved it up to 4/18 because I felt I wanted to get it over with. The situation was bad enough. I didn't need to let it drag out. Mr. Alphen pleaded guilty to harassment and was given a year's probation, the same date that my trial was.
What happened at the end of the trial?
My lawyer kept pushing that we had surveillance tapes and videotapes that had to be shown if they wanted to prove, you know, for beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was not guilty. The judge didn't want to watch the tapes, so he appointed the prosecutor and my attorney to watch the tapes. They watched the tapes. A few days later, the judge ruled not guilty.
Did the prosecutor agree that that was...
Yes,
Did
yes,
he
he agreed.
dismiss the charges?
Yes, the judge, the prosecutor, and my lawyer were all together in it.
Okay. Now, I've read in your complaint, sir, that you had had a conversation with Miss Ballou, either you or your lawyer, prior to the date set for both her boyfriend and you to appear in court with regard to dropping the charges. Can you tell me about that conversation?
We were in court getting ready for my trial, and Miss Ballou's lawyer, attorney, came to my attorney and spoke with us about if I would drop the charges against Mr. Alphen, then they would drop the charges against me.
And you declined to do that?
Yes, I did, due to my innocence.
Were you suspended from your job for any period of time?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
For how long?
33 days.
You are now back at work?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the defendant?
She wasn't suspended. She is still employed.
All right, Miss Ballou, now I'll hear you.
Well, when I made the complaint to the officer in the report, it was not the 4th. It was sometime the first week, the 1st or the 4th.
What date did you start to work at the company together with the plaintiff?
The beginning of August, I would say.
Of 2001?
Yes.
And Mr. Sells was your supervisor all that time?
Yes.
And was this gentleman your boyfriend all of that time?
Yes.
Now, I want you to stand up, sir. Your last name is?
Alphen.
Mr. Rolfin, why were you leaving notes on the plaintiff's car?
Because my girlfriend, then my fiance now, is being sexually assaulted at work.
No, sexually assaulted is a conclusion. What did your girlfriend tell you that inspired you to leave these notes?
The plaintiff, Ryan, a person that's our personal space, and at work he would stand very close to Kristen, talk to her in a flirty manner, try to rub her shoulders, and she would tell him to stop, and he would just blow it off like she was joking. He would try to hug her all the time and put his hands toward her breasts. And, yes, ma'am.
That you're making up?
No, ma'am.
That you're making up as you're going? Keep going.
And finally there was an incident at work where he got very close to her, rubbed himself on her.
No, that happened in March, sir. That happened after you wrote the notes on his car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, after you left these notes on his car, which you, I assume, did not sign.
No, Your Honor.
What did you say in the notes, sir?
I called him a little bitch.
You called him a little bitch?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know
Now,
if
why would you call him a little bitch? Please.
Because I was very angry.
A little bitch is not something that you call a man. You may call a man a bitch, but you don't call a man a little bitch. Now, why did you call him a little bitch, sir?
Because I was very angry at him for touching my fiance, ma'am.
You're not answering my question.
Well,
Officer Byrd understands my question. You call a woman a bitch. You don't call a man a little bitch. And you know that. So why would you call him a little bitch?
Because I was angry, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me, and he touched my back.
If Ryan would not have done anything to me, there would have been no more.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Sells claims he was arrested when co-worker Christine Ballou made false allegations of sexual assault. Ryan says she was looking for revenge.
Now, Miss Ballou, is it just coincidental, madam, that you filed a formal complaint for the first time for incidents that had occurred months before, 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested? Is that just coincidental? Is that what you want me to believe?
No, I have.
It was on purpose?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me, what inspired you 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested to file this complaint?
Well, I had talked to management about it before, and they didn't seem to do anything. So the officer didn't cuff him or anything. He just came to our place of work and told him that both of us needed to meet him at the police station. So we went down there, and I told him everything that Mr. Sells has done to me, and he asked me if I would like to make a complaint, and I said yes. But that day, when we were at work, when I turned him into management for like the 5th time after they didn't do anything, he came back up to work after he
Do you
came back.
have any copies of the reports that you made to management prior to March of 2002?
They didn't have me write a statement. They just talked.
And you didn't write a statement?
They did not
You
want...
did? No, you did not write a statement. You have the ability to write a statement.
I did write statements with one of my management.
Oh, let me see it.
I don't have them. They would not let us take anything out of...
Well, if you write a statement, an intelligent person keeps a copy. Go ahead.
Ryan came back up to work after he found out that I had turned him in, walked up to my register when I was checking people out, told me I was full in sexual harassment, all this was bull.
I believe that's true.
So...
I believe that's true.
I have...
Oh, I believe it. Let me see your proof.
That Ryan has done this to me and other women and that other people I've seen.
Letters. You want them?
I don't want letters. I don't know who the people are. I don't know if they're your friends. I don't know. Certainly your letter is self-serving.
One of the women that are on here is sitting right over there that states...
You have a letter from a woman who is sitting over here?
I have a letter from a woman that saw Mr. Sells, the way he acts sexually towards this woman sitting over here.
Oh, well, let me see. I'd be
Her
quite...
name is stated-
Don't tell me her name.
Excuse me, Your Honor. May I bring my witness over to speak with you?
Sure.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Lisa Volo.
Lisa, you're mentioned in this letter as someone who the plaintiff made sexual comments to. Never touching or anything else, but sexual comments to. Can you think of any of those comments?
No, he never has. And in fact, the Monday after Mr. Sells was arrested, I was called into the management's office. They wanted me to make a statement against Mr. Sells. Ms. Ballou said that I had witnessed the whole sexual assault. And at that time, I made a statement saying that I never witnessed anything, and I never saw Mr. Sells.
How long have you been working at the same place as the plaintiff?
I've been working at this store for 9 months.
Have you ever seen Mr. Sells do anything of a sexual nature that was untoward physically to anyone?
No, ma'am, I've never.
And I want you to be honest with me about this. Have you ever heard him say anything, even in a joking manner, that might be construed as being inappropriate?
No, I have never.
Now, Mr. Rolfin, did your girlfriend and now fiancé ever say that she didn't like the way Mr. Sills was talking to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever go up to him and discuss it with him?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was very angry and I did not want to take any physical action against Mr. Sells.
That's not physical action.
Well, in
That's
talking...
not physical action. That's just saying, listen, you may think something is cute, but my girlfriend doesn't appreciate it. So I'd like you to not talk to her about anything other than being very professional, rather than writing these sick notes and leaving them on his car unsigned.
But if Ryan would not have done anything to me, there would have been no motive.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney. I think maybe you didn't like the way he talked to you, but there isn't a chance in hell that he sexually assaulted you as you outlined in your papers. And what you did was your boyfriend got busted because he wrote nasty notes on the car, and this was your way of gaining leverage. Because if you would have said, well, he talked to me inappropriately, they would not have arrested him. They would not have arrested him. So you fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me and he touched my back. Now, your boyfriend has an interesting choice of words when he refers to the plaintiff. So he may not have liked him for a variety of reasons. But there is no question in my mind that you are full of it when you say that he physically touched you. So, he was out of work for 33 days. He hired a lawyer. The maximum he is suing for in the jurisdiction where you come from is $3,000.
Yes,
I believe you are entitled to every penny.
Thank
Judgment
you
for the
so
plaintiff.
much,
That's
Judge.
all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And everyone knows that she lied and that I was totally innocent the whole time.
Ryan knows what he did, and he should be punished, but he's not.
I never seen Ryan do anything, and I just knew she was lying.
Stay away from Ryan.
Miss Ballou put me through hell for nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Payton versus Preston. Step forward, please.
Bill Paith is suing his former live-in girlfriend, home health care worker Margaret Preston, for a $2,000 cell phone bill. Margaret is countersuing for the return of her property and for harassment.
Mr. Paith, according to your complaint, the defendant and her daughter moved into your home. And at some point, you put her on your cell phone. She
Yes,
was
ma'am.
using a cell phone that you were responsible for. She and her daughter subsequently moved out, and she had accumulated several $1,000s in phone bills on the cell phone, and you believe she is responsible for those bills.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Preston says that there was never an agreement with regard to her repaying you for her cell phone use, and she has a counterclaim. She says that you kept some of her property when she moved out, and that you have embarked upon a campaign of harassing her. When and why did she and her daughter move in with you, sir?
We had, if you will use the term loosely, dated in the past for approximately a year. She is married. She'd been talking on many occasions the past fall about leaving her husband. She wasn't happy. We had talked on a few occasions about maybe trying to get together, start dating. I told her a few times, I got a 4-bedroom house. I live in a good neighborhood. I'm a single guy. Move in with me. We'll see what happens.
Okay, continue, sir.
I got a U-Haul rental truck and moved her and her daughter into my house. This is December 21st, I believe. She was working some sort of home health care job. In the beginning of January, she made a comment. We felt it would be good. I agreed with her. She could use a cell phone for her job. She wasn't able to get one because of her credit. But I said, well, listen, we'll go out, we'll get you a cell phone. We'll put it under my name, my plan, because I already currently have one. What we need to do is you have to be able to pay for half the bill and anything above and beyond that. You use extra minutes, you're going to have to pay for that. I can't afford that stuff. She agreed. I went out, I bought her a $150 phone. January 9th, we had this plan started and purchased the phone. I had the phone shut off March 22nd. The phone bill was well over $2,000.
Can I see a copy of the phone bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you discuss the phone bill with her?
A number of occasions.
Is that right?
I had agreed to pay half, yes. But
You
I
did?
was only told about $1,000. And I have one bill here of $189.
Who were you talking to?
Your Honor.
Who were you talking to?
People calling me about going different places for my work. I do home health care.
People calling you or you calling them?
Both.
She has 1 month with 874 calls. They are detailed, my phone number, my calls, her phone number, her calls. She has 874 calls in 1 month. That month alone, I believe the bill shows $1,080 in extra minutes alone.
Okay, the bills that you've given me are $1,635. Okay, now, I'm interested, Ms. Preston, because in your answer to this complaint, you say that you never had an agreement with him to pay this bill.
We had a verbal agreement that I would pay half.
You did?
But when I tried to, for instance, I bought groceries one time. My daughter was a witness to Bill going through the roof over the fact that I had bought groceries. He didn't want my money. And this
Well, that's what
happened
you
on
say in your answer, but now you say that you do have a responsibility to pay this phone bill.
But he would not accept my money.
Did you ever offer him money for the phone bill?
No, I did not have the $2,000. I never saw a $2,000 phone bill.
Okay. Now you want to tell me about your counterclaim, please.
When I moved out, I recorded a conversation between Bill and I where he was off and on saying whether or not he was going to give me my stuff. At one point he said he'd give me my stuff and we'd just call it even. He threatened to hold my stuff, so to speak, hostage for $1,000 because that's what he said the phone bill was. He couldn't make up his mind about how much the phone bill was. I finally was able to talk him into letting me come in and get my stuff, and I got a U-Haul truck and some friends went over, got as much of my stuff as I could, and have discovered that there was a lot that I didn't get, and there were things that were ruined while I lived there. Because he has 3 dogs. They urinated or chewed my stuff up.
I'm not interested in what his dogs did to your stuff. You were living there. Voluntarily.
Yes.
His dogs
Your
pulled
Honor?
apart. Shh. Do I look like I need help?
No,
Okay. Now, if you didn't like living there, you should have moved out, which you ultimately did, but then you don't sue him because his dogs damaged some of your stuff. What stuff do you claim he didn't give you?
I don't have an itemized list, Your Honor.
Well, then you don't get anything for that. So then let's go to the next part of your counterclaim, which was for harassment. You want to tell me about that?
I have a taped conversation. It's a very vulgar taped conversation.
Why
with
don't you
him.
tell me about it?
Just harassing me, telling me I can't have my stuff, cussing me out about
But he
a
ultimately gave you
conversation.
your stuff.
Some of it.
Is
He
that what
harassed my daughter.
Is that what you're talking about? Is that the harassment that you're talking
Yes,
about?
not only did he harass my daughter, but so did his witness.
His witness isn't on trial today, so you have no counterclaim. And he has a claim. That's the bills that he's presented to me are $1,635. That you get. Now, did you shut off the cell phone, sir?
Oh, yes, I did. I had it
That is
long ago.
very smart. That's all.
All right, case number 225 on the calendar in the matter of Martinez versus Singleton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
All right, Ms. Martinez, your claim is one for assault and injury that you allege that Mr. Singleton caused you. I'm going to try to put this case in perspective so we can get down to the nitty-gritty of it swiftly because I have other business today. You brought your car into his shop to have your car windows tinted.
Yes.
Had you ever had dealings with him before?
Never.
You brought it in early one morning, and when you called at about midday to find out if the car was ready, Mr. Singleton or somebody else in the shop said that they hadn't started working on it yet, but it would be ready sometime later that day.
Correct.
Well, you were annoyed that your car hadn't been worked on yet. You came down to the shop to get the car. It was at that point that you claimed that there was an altercation. You got into your car and you claimed that Mr. Singleton became obstreperous, slammed the car door onto your left arm, causing you to be injured, causing pain and suffering and a whole bunch of other things. Mr. Singleton says you're a very good actress, right?
Yes.
When had you made arrangements to take the car into his shop, Miss Martinez?
I called him the evening before. I called him on the 26th.
And he said bring it in what time in the morning?
He said he does it only by appointments and to be there at 8 o'clock.
And you were there at 8 a.m.?
I was.
What time did he tell you to pick up the car?
He asked me to call him about 2 o'clock.
So what time did you call?
I actually called at 12 as I was leaving for lunch. I thought maybe when I was done with my lunch hour that I could go by and pick up my car because the night before he had told me he would only need my car for 4 hours.
Okay. Called at noon, and what did he say?
He was very angry at me and told me that I was not supposed to call him until 2 o'clock. I was told not to call him. And I tried explaining to him, well, I'm leaving for lunch right now. I was going to be gone for an hour. I thought maybe at 1 p.m. I could come by and pick it up. Well, we haven't started it yet. And he said, call me back at 2. And I thought at that point, because he was so rude to me on the telephone, I didn't feel comfortable with him having my vehicle. So I called him back and I told him that I was on my way, that I wasn't going to have my car done there If he needed my car for 4 hours, he wasn't going to have my car ready by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, if he hadn't even started
Fine,
yet.
so you went down to get your car. You told him, don't work on my car, I'm coming down to pick it up.
Yeah, and I said it very nicely. I wasn't angry.
So you went down to pick up your car.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I walked into the building. There, I have pictures of the building. I walked into the building on the left-hand side.
Would you talk to me and stop looking at pictures? I don't care which side you walked in.
Okay, well, I walked into the business, and I was standing at the counter. There was 2 gentlemen tinting windows. Mr. Singleton was not there. And I stood there for a moment, and I kind of said out loud, I'm here to pick up my keys for my vehicle. And I looked over, and there was a board on the left-hand side, and there was my keys, and there was an invoice there. And I go, oh, here they are right here. No one said anything, so I picked up my keys, and I actually took the invoice as well. It had no writing on it but my address. I was not comfortable with him having my address, so I wanted to remove my address out of there, and if he brought the invoice, it would show very clearly that I was not messing with his numbers if he had reasons.
You didn't think about all this stuff. Come on, you picked up your keys, and the invoice was on it. What did you do next?
I started walking to my vehicle, and I believe his witness here was yelling at me, not the paperwork, not the paperwork. And I continued walking. Well, he came over and he snatched the paper out of my hand. And I said, well, that's okay. I go, I just wanted my address out of there. He got the paper and there was no words. I went to my car, I got in my car. Mr. Singleton came out of a totally different building, and he came up to my car, in front of my car, over to my car, and opened my car door. He was yelling at me.
Open which door?
He opened my driver's door, where I was sitting. He opened my door.
You had already gotten into the car and closed the door.
I was in my car. I had started my car.
Go ahead.
And so he came over, opened my car door. He started yelling at me. He was furious at me. For what reason, I don't know why.
What did he say, Miss Martinez?
Oh, he was yelling at me that I was supposed to not call him until 2 o'clock. I couldn't even tell you everything he was yelling at me. I don't remember. I was shocked that he was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
So I tried closing my car door. I reached to close my car door, and he had his arm like this on my car door standing, and he pulled it back away from me. I said, it really doesn't matter. And he was so angry, and he just kept yelling at me. And so I sat there. There was nothing I could do. And then he's called me, and he slammed my door as hard as he could, and it hit me in my arm area here, and it shoved my area here. When he did that, he walked away. I sat there for a minute, 1, because I was in shock, 2, because he had just hurt me. And then I got out of my car and told him I was calling the police and having him arrested for assault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. You didn't find out that somebody died. You're a little bit of an actress.
And later today,
he proposed to me and broke it off.
So what? If he wasn't going to be a good husband, you're all going to go home and you're going to say, lucky, we called it off when we should have. Goodbye and good luck.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen Martinez says window tinting technician Kent Singleton detained her at his place of business and then assaulted her. Kent says Karen is a good actress.
Go ahead.
He yelled at me continually still. I asked my girlfriend, because my phone was not charged, I asked my girlfriend if I could use her telephone. So I got the phone from her and I called 911. He's yelling at me to get off his property. I was not in my car at that time and just kept yelling to get off his property. And I said, I'm trying, because I was getting the phone and dialing. So I finally did get off his property, and I waited for the police for about an hour and a half to get there. They took a report. I have the report.
I'd like to see the report.
Okay. The girlfriend that was with me, she had fully intended to come today. She's a school teacher, and she wasn't able to come today. Her statement...
I don't take her statement.
Okay.
How come you decided not to prosecute?
When the officer came out and took the report, I told him that I wanted to have him arrested, and he talked me out of it. He said that if I did that, he could turn around and have me arrested or have me prosecuted.
For what?
For a false statement, or I don't know why he said that. He just said that it could turn around on me.
Just says the victim desired no prosecution.
I've also talked to somebody at the station since then.
Don't tell me what you said to somebody at the station, madam. That's hearsay. Okay.
Well, I wanted to
have a
find
couple
out.
of things. What?
I wanted to find out because I didn't know that's what that meant. I didn't know that.
Well, that's what
that
it means. It means no prosecution. What do you mean you don't know what that meant? No prosecution.
I didn't have the report at that time, so
but that's
I didn't
what it means.
know.
A victim desires no prosecution means that you decided not to prosecute. Mr. Singleton, okay, you have a slightly different version of the events, sir, but there's one thing that you do say. She was in her car with the car door closed, and you told the police that you opened her car door. Why did you do that, sir?
Because Rich told me what she said to him and what she did up in front, and he said that...
Wait a second. What she did was she took her keys and a piece of paper that was a work order. Your employee had already gotten back the work order. There's nothing on the work order except her name and address and what work was to be done, because no work was done on the car. Is that right?
Yeah, but it shows proof. I mean, if she went and had her car tinted someplace else and, say, got a bad job, she could sit there and say, I have a receipt.
Correct. She could have done that, sir. However, your employee had already gotten back the work order, so all she had was her car and her keys. Why did you open her car door?
Because she basically took the course of events from the very beginning to the very end and twisted them around. And
No. Let me explain something. It's not what happened. And you told her to be there at 8 o'clock. Happens all the time. You tell everybody that day, bring your car in at 8 o'clock. When you get around to doing their car, you do it. She hadn't specified to you what time she needed her car back. And this I'm getting all from what you told the police initially, sir. So, because she wasn't one of the customers that day that said, I need my car back in 4 hours, you pushed her over until later. And you did other cars before you did hers.
No, I never do that.
Well, you did. You were doing other cars before you did hers. But that's okay. You're entitled to do that.
No, I don't do that, ma'am.
Okay. You're entitled to do it if you want to do it. I mean, you hadn't started working on her car at noon, and she brought the car in at 8 o'clock in the morning.
We tell people to be there between 8 and 9 in the morning.
Fine.
Okay, the cars are done according to the way they came in. I have a very, very strong company policy of not putting anybody in front of somebody.
Listen to me, Mr. Singleton. You can tell people, be there at 8 o'clock. It takes 4 hours. You do not explain to them that you're coming in on a first-come, first-served basis. And that may be your policy. Because if you worked strictly on appointment, you would have said to her, be there at 2 o'clock and I will have your car ready for you at 6 o'clock. That's an appointment. But you don't. You have the cars stacked up so that the cars are waiting for you rather than you waiting for the cars. That's your business. You're entitled to do that. I'm not faulting you for that, sir. I'm faulting you because you opened her car door. The situation had already de-escalated. If there was any problem up front, any problem at all up front, that had already been resolved with your witness, who took the paperwork back. Right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So she had a car, she had her keys, she was hysterical, so she's out. So
Ma'am, may I tell you something?
I don't want to hear anything else from you, because I don't like exaggerators either. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I hear you.
Good, because what you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. I mean, nobody killed your child, or you didn't find out that somebody died.
No, I'm
It's
very
months later.
sensitive.
It's months later. You had an altercation with a mechanic, which happens frequently, unfortunately, and he slammed the door, and I believe that he hurt your arm when he slammed the door, that the door hit your arm, because you're not totally in the car, you're not careful of that, and he slammed it, and at that moment it hurt your arm. I don't believe that you almost died as a result of that. Understand
no, I
that?
didn't.
Okay, so I don't see why it required all the tears, unless, as the defendant says, you're a little bit of an actress.
No, I'm very
That doesn't mean that
sensitive.
he's allowed to do what he did. He can't, because you slammed the door in her arm, and you hurt her. So aside from saying, I'm sorry, you got to compensate her. Let me see your medical bills. What day of the week was it that you went to his place of business?
It was a Thursday.
Were you working on Friday, June 28th?
Yes, I was at work.
Right. And am I correct that the first time you went to any sort of a clinic or doctor was not until July 1st?
Yes.
And what time did you go to the clinic on July 1st?
I went as soon as I could get the first appointment. I went between 8 and 8:30 in the morning.
And then you went to work that day?
No, I did not. I was taken off work for 3 days. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't drive.
But you were fine the next day?
No, I was not fine the
You
next
stayed
day.
at work all day on the 28th?
Yes, my arm was very sore.
Okay.
But it was 3 days later I woke up and something in my neck and my shoulder here was hurting me, and I couldn't lift my head off the bed. I called my supervisor. My supervisor from work came and picked me up and took me to the doctors. I couldn't drive. I couldn't hardly do anything.
What else do you want to tell me, Mr. Singleton?
I feel that when she called and said, is my car ready? She says, I have to have it by 2 o'clock. I have somewhere to go. I said, ma'am, it will be ready by 2 o'clock. It takes us an hour to do each car, then it will sit out outside for an hour. It's hot during the summertime, the tent dries quick. I says, it will be ready by 2. She hangs up and calls back a minute later. I'm going to come and pick up my car right now.
Fine.
Now, I've had people upset before because their car isn't being done first. But we do have a bad problem with people making appointments. If we tried to do 8, 10, 12, 2, and people don't show, then we're sitting around for 2 hours not making any money. And it is a business.
I understand that, but she said, I'm coming to get my car. She has a right to do that.
She does have a right to do that.
And I wasn't angry.
I didn't ask you to say anything.
Okay.
He's been very quiet when you've been testifying.
You're right.
Go ahead.
What she did to Rich and what she did to me.
What'd she do to you?
Basically, she twisted. She goes, I can't believe you haven't touched my car yet.
So?
And I said, well, ma'am, I says, we will have it done at that time. I says, it's very frustrating, you know, when you're sitting there trying to run a business and people, I'm very clear with people. I tell them.
So I'm not interested in being clear with people. I want to know why you didn't just let her get into her car and leave. You hadn't touched her car, hadn't done any work on her car. She has a right to let that happen. So you should have just let her go.
I probably should have.
And you were angry, and you slammed the car door on her.
Well, I know the door didn't touch her. I mean,
you don't know that at all.
I looked right at her.
You don't know that it didn't hit her at all. You were angry. You slammed the car door. That's what you did. That's what you did, Mr. Singleton.
Can I have Rich stand up for a sec?
No.
Because he was standing right there.
No. I believe that you slammed the car, that you were really angry, that you came in. It's one less job that you were going to do that day. You felt that she was being unreasonable, that you were told her to call at 2 o'clock. Instead of calling at 2, she called at 12, 2 hours beforehand, which took somebody away from what they were supposed to be doing in order to answer her questions when she was told not to call until 2 o'clock.
We don't tell people, you know.
What, she was told not to call until 2, that you weren't going to have any news for her until 2 o'clock as to when her car was going to be ready. Whatever it is, you don't want a dissatisfied customer. She's not happy, she leaves. You lost your temper, and you slammed the car door, and it hurt her. It didn't hurt her $5,000 worth. Did you go to see a lawyer, by the way?
No.
Lawyer would tell her, this is not a $5,000 injury. How much out-of-pocket expense did you have?
$550.25, ma'am.
And how many days were you out of work?
3 days.
How much do you earn a day?
$136, ma'am.
Your out-of-pocket expenses are approximately $1,500. To that, I'm adding another $1,000 for your pain and suffering. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, that's pretty evident. The way she's crying and everything, she is a drama queen.
The whole thing was upsetting, and I'm glad that it's over now.
I think she blew everything up in her mind.
He did that to me and thought that he could do it and get away with it.
Nothing happened.
And I hope that he doesn't do that to somebody else.
She referred to his size and basically called him a type of animal.
I'm just happy, and I hope he doesn't do that to somebody else.
I'm not saying that I did not get hot, but she was not just a total innocent victim.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hinkle versus Burkhardt. Step forward, please.
24-year-old teacher Tanya Hinkle is suing her ex-fiancé, construction worker Shane Burkhardt, for the cost of a reception hall and for the cost of a wedding dress.
Ms. Hinkle, you and the defendant were engaged. He broke off the engagement according to your complaint. You want him to pay for some expenses that were incurred by you or your mother, down payment on a hall, dress, etc. And you want the paperwork on your engagement ring.
Yes.
What are you doing with the engagement ring?
I was going to try to sell it.
Why?
So that I could pay off the rest of the wedding, but I can't get the paperwork because the defendant won't give it to me.
Why should he give it to you? You're supposed to give the engagement ring back to him.
Yeah, well, he proposed to me and broke it off.
So what?
So I thought it was a gift.
No. An engagement ring is a ring given in contemplation of you two getting married. And if he broke it off, there must have been a reason that he had doubts. Even if he had no reason to have doubts, it was good that he decided to call it off before he married you, if he wasn't going to be a good husband. The ring goes back to him. There's no issue with regard to that. I mean, once you're married, and if you're divorced, well, then the contract has been fulfilled. You were married, the engagement ring stays with you. But before the wedding, it goes back to him. Where is it? Can I see it, please? It's lovely. Give it to him. You still paying it off?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. How much was it?
The total was $27.95, I think, was the total on it.
And if you go to sell it, how much do you think you're going to get for it?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it.
Maybe
Never-
half.
Never tried, yeah. Possibly.
Maybe. You never get,
Possibly half, yeah.
unless you're dealing with the Hope Diamond.
Right.
You know, you're not. They usually don't appreciate in value.
Right.
Everybody makes a profit. You go to sell it. Maybe you're lucky if you get half. So you're going to be out probably $1,400.
Right.
That's you on the negative side. And how much did you spend on the wedding so far?
$1146.92.
So you don't want to have to pay him any money, do you?
No.
Good. So we're going to call it even, and you're all going to go home, and you're going to say, lucky, we called it off when we should have. He lost $1,400 on the ring. You lost $1,100 on the wedding expenses. Goodbye and good luck. Thank you.
99 on the calendar in the matter of Jones versus Escada. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
I'm really a little confused with this case, but we're going to make sense of it. Miss Jones, you're suing her because you say she filed false charges against you of hit and run.
Yes.
The hit and run was not against her person, but against a car that she was driving in.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
There was an incident involving the defendant.
Yes, there was.
First, tell me when the incident happened.
The exact day, it was on or about May 1st.
Tell me about it.
I was moving back into my home, and
you were moving back into your home from where?
From a corporate leasing unit.
Okay.
I rented a 26-foot U-Haul truck. I asked the guy to help me move, and he knew the defendant's boyfriend.
Did you know this person?
Not personally, no.
How did you find this person?
Just through verbal acquaintance, just seeing him around town. He's a handyman.
What's his name?
Michael Alexander.
So you asked Michael if he would help you move?
Yes. He then got the two other guys and said, you know, they were good workers and they will also help because I had a lot of furniture.
Okay, so there were going to be 3 men.
3 men.
And you rented the U-Haul?
And I rented the U-Haul.
Where did you pick them up?
I picked them up on 3rd Street East in Lancaster, California at Michael's home.
What happened the second day?
The following day, we had agreed the previous night to meet back at Michael's house early in the morning. I did so. I arrived.
So you, again, went back to Michael's house to pick up the 3 guys?
To pick up the 3 guys. As the one of the guys was walking out, he was arguing with someone in the house. I asked him, was he okay? Did he need to stay back? He said, no, let's go. So all 4 of us got into the truck. I drove off. Went back to the house, unloaded the truck. Later on that day, I was going down Avenue K, headed westbound. He spotted his girlfriend.
Were the 3 men still in the truck?
The 3 men are in the truck. I'm driving down Avenue K, which is a main street. I'm heading westbound. He spotted his girlfriend, which apparently is a defendant.
Had you ever seen her before?
No.
You never laid eyes on her before that day? Go ahead.
And he makes a comment to another guy. He said, oh, there she goes. She's about to turn around. I quickly glanced in my rearview mirror. I didn't really see anything. A few seconds later, she was behind me on my left-hand side, honking her horn and motioning me to pull over.
What kind of car was she in?
A little blue Toyota Tercel, something compact and small.
Now, how was she telling you to pull over?
Honking her horn and motioning like this. And so then I asked the guy, I said, do you want me to pull over? He said, no, she just wants to argue, just keep going. So I did. A few seconds later, she's now on the right side of the truck.
She's on the passenger side of the truck?
On the passenger side of the truck. Okay, she just got over. She's doing the same thing. And I asked him again, I said, are you sure? He said, no, keep on, she'll eventually pass. And I said, okay, fine. So I keep driving. She was yelling and screaming.
What was she yelling?
You know, she was yelling profanities at him.
At him, not at you?
Not at me, okay, not at first. When she got closer to the window, though, to where, because it was a long truck, when she got closer to the window, she did call me a B. But prior to that, she was, you know, on the side of the truck yelling and screaming at him, and they flipped it. I don't know, she flipped him off, and then he flipped her back off. So then they had a flipping off match, okay? And so I kept driving, and that was that. I moved all that day, you know, nothing. And the following day, I got a call from the Palmdale Sheriff's Department, said that they wanted to come look at the vehicle because they had been involved in a hit and run.
First of all, who was that guy?
Speak not until I speak to you. So it is your testimony that at no time did you ever hit her or hit her car?
Whatsoever.
Now, were you ever arrested?
No.
What happened?
The officer came to my house. He took a photograph of me. He told me to wait there at my house, that he was going to take the picture to her. If she verified that it was me, that he was going to come back and arrest me, for me not to go anywhere, to stay home that day. And I did. I was moving anyway. He never came back that day. I didn't hear anything, so I figured, okay, it's all taken care of. About a month later, I get a notice in the mail from the DMV stating that someone has inquired as to my driving record. Then I get a letter from the Sheriff's Department stating that I need to appear in court on charges of a hit and run and property damage. And
Do you have a copy of that letter?
I don't have a copy of the letter, but I was summoned to court.
You have a copy of the summons?
No, this is the court dates and the days I appeared in court.
Am I correct, Miss Jones, that the trial in this case commenced? Jury was selected.
Yes.
The first witness was called by the people.
Yes.
That was this lady right here.
Yes.
The second witness that was called was her mother. I assume that's you.
Mother-in-law.
You're not her mother, are you?
No.
Then be quiet. Then the matter was adjourned.
Yes.
And when everybody came back, the district attorney moved to dismiss the case.
Yes.
The district attorney moved before you even had an opportunity to put on your case. At the end of their case, the district attorney said, we move to dismiss in the furtherance of justice. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, this report says that they found on your U-Haul a smudge of blue paint that was consistent with the blue paint on the car, her car.
Yes.
Can you explain that to me?
Yes, I can. When she got on the right-hand side of the truck and she was driving and cussing and carrying on, she skinned the side of the truck. At 35 miles an hour, she claimed that I hit her, that she skid and collided with me at 35 miles an hour.
I read what she said.
Okay, these are the photos.
I read the exact statement she gave to the police, which contained no information about her boyfriend being in the car, anything like that. As far as her statement to the police was concerned, you were total strangers and you totaled her car, and so may I see the photographs that you have?
In the photographs, you will see her car. The hood of it is dented and the grill is missing, but she admitted in court that that was damage that was done previously, that was not damage caused by the U-Haul. At 35 miles an hour, she wouldn't have had a front.
Okay. Now I'd like to hear you.
On May 1st, I was coming from east side. All of a sudden, I see this U-Haul truck approaching me on the opposite side. She turned to the left. I just put the steering wheel a little bit to the right. That's why she hit the car. I have my pictures right here. On the side, you can see that's when she hit it.
What's your boyfriend's name, or what was his name?
Gino.
Gino. Was Gino in the U-Haul?
No.
Really? She says there was a person driving in the car who you knew. Is that true?
No. I don't know what.
Really?
I don't know
Ms. Jones.
what she's talking about.
Yes.
I don't know who's this guy. No.
You know who that person is?
No. Even when I went to trial, they asked me. I didn't know him.
What about Michael?
Yes, I know. That's the guy I knew.
You have Michael's telephone number?
Yes, I do.
I'll take it. Now, why do you believe that the district attorney moved to dismiss the case after you and your mother testified?
I don't know.
You have no idea? All right. What's your name, by the way?
Gino.
Gino! You weren't in the U-Haul at that day, were you?
Nope. And I've been with her for 19 months.
Okay. Well, let me go see if I can get in touch with Michael.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to see this person and to identify me, and I'll do the same thing to him. I am not going to let these people lie. No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Monica Jones says Martha Escada falsely accused her of hit and run. She claims Martha was trying to pull a scam.
Well, Michael isn't there, but maybe I can get some information from the district attorney. By the way, do you have any photographs of your cars?
Yes, and I have another question. Who's this guy that she's telling you that that guy knew me? I want to see this guy, and I want to see if he's telling the truth. I don't know this guy. I don't know what she's talking about. I mean, bring the guy, tell me to my face that he knew me, and I'll tell to his face that I knew him too.
The question is not whether this guy knew you, madam. The question is whether you pulled up on the side of her truck. There was somebody in the car that you wanted to talk to. She wouldn't pull over, and then you claimed that she hit your vehicle and took off. She says that the U-Haul, it did in fact come in contact with your car, but it was because you were driving like a nut. So
Nope.
I want to see what the district attorney
That
has to
is
say.
not
If
true.
I can find the district attorney's name here, Richard Quinones. Let's see if we can locate him. And you have the paperwork while we're getting, see if we can get the
I have the
number.
police
You have the
report right
paperwork?
here, and I have pictures of my car.
Okay, let me see.
Also wanted to show the character when the police went to serve her. She said they didn't live there, and they do.
They didn't live where?
Initially, when they went to serve her, and she said, "Oh, no one's here by that name. No one
Okay,
lives
by
here."
that.
And then the 10 days, my loss in pay, I brought my pay stub.
Just a second.
Okay.
I have to first find out whether these are false charges.
Okay.
That's what I have to find out.
Okay.
Do you understand?
All right. Yes, I do.
I mean, I wish I could get in touch with old Michael. That would make things easy. But since I can't, and you don't know the names of any of the other people.
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, why don't you have a seat?
Is it okay if I...
Yes, is Mr. Quinones there, please?
Yo estaba discutiendo con ellos y yo me puse a un lado de ella.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir. I haven't been able to reach either the district attorney at this hour, nor Mr. Alexander, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
So I want you to just hang around, and I'll see you back here as soon as we are able to get either one of these two people who should be
Okay, I
able
just
to
gave
give.
my cell phone number.
You have a cell phone number for whom?
Michael Alexander.
Oh, that's perfect. Maybe we can do that. Yes.
When they went to serve me to that address, I moved since December. So I don't live in that address anymore. I live in Lake LA.
It's not important. Why is that important?
Because she said that when they went looking for me at that address, somebody told the police officer that.
And I
there's no
told her
one-
that wasn't important.
Okay.
The only thing that's important to me is whether or not you knew or appeared to have known someone who was driving in the truck with her on that date. And I would be also curious to find out why the district attorney moved on their own motion to dismiss this case after you and your mother testified. So we'll see you back here. Okay. Thank you. Well, I managed to speak to the assistant district attorney who handled the case. And after speaking to the assistant district attorney, he did in fact confirm to me that after the two of you testified, he decided to go out and have a personal look at the car that you say was damaged by the plaintiff. And after he made this personal inspection of the car, he believed that the damages to the car were inconsistent with the testimony that the two of you gave in court before she even had to put on her case. So he doubted your word, especially yours. That's number one. Number two, we were in fact successful in securing Michael Alexander's presence here for the recall. So, Bert, I believe Mr. Alexander is outside. Would you bring him in, please?
Sure thing. Michael Alexander?
Would you swear the witness, please?
Sure thing. Sir, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in the matters before you?
Yes, sir.
State your name for the record.
Michael Alexander.
Mr. Alexander, prior to coming into court just now, did you speak to Miss Jones?
Yes.
Did she tell you the questions that she thought I would be asking you?
No.
Okay. You helped her move sometime in, when was it, May?
Yes.
And you had a couple of other people that you had gotten to help
Yes,
her?
ma'am.
Who were those other people?
Keith and Jose.
Do you know their last names?
No. I met them at labor.
There came a time that Miss Jones came to your house to pick you up.
Yes.
And these two other men were with you in the truck and you moved one day.
Yes.
Do you remember the second day of your move?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember an incident involving this young lady right here?
Yes.
Look at me and tell me what you remember.
Well, I remember that we was traveling down Avenue K after we dropped off her furniture at her house and was headed back to the storage. And Jose said, that's my girlfriend. And I seen her throw a U-turn.
Jose, put your hand down. Jose said, that's my girlfriend.
Yes.
Where was she when he said, that's my girlfriend?
She was headed east coming down Avenue K.
And what happened next?
She threw a U-turn, and she came up on the U-Haul, and she was driving all erratic and fast. She was flashing her lights and blowing her horn and doing hand signals up out the window. And
did Jose say anything to her?
he said, well, she asked him, do you want me to pull over? And he said, no, don't stop. She just wanted to argue. And so we kept going.
Did you see Jose after the move? Have you seen him since?
No.
Have not?
No, ma'am.
Is there any question in your mind that this was the young lady in the car?
No.
Look at me. What color car was she driving?
Blue.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Okay. If you have any questions for Mr. Alexander, you can ask me and I will ask him.
Okay. Who is this guy, Jose? I don't know nobody by that name, Jose. And I'm not going to let these people get away with it because they're lying. No. I want to see this person and to identify me, and I'll do the same thing to him. I am not going to let these people lie. No.
Miss Jones, I've been involved in the criminal justice system for a very long time. And I'll tell you right now, very rarely does a district attorney who takes a case to trial, impanels a jury of 12 people, wastes court time, expends time in preparing a case. Very rarely does a district attorney stand up at the end of their case and say, we don't believe our witnesses to the extent that we're moving to dismiss this case because we don't even want it to go any further. I mean, maybe on one hand I can remember that amount of time. This district attorney didn't believe you, didn't believe your mother about what happened. And I don't know who Jose is, but I certainly see the pictures of your car, and I've listened to her testify. I believe her. That's all I have to believe. I believe that you were having some sort of an argument with a guy who was in that U-Haul it, and you were behaving erratically. She wouldn't pull over. You got ticked off. You called, and I believe that there was contact with the U-Haul. There's no question in my mind that there was contact with the U-Haul. It was your fault. And maybe you thought you could make a couple of bucks. No. That's what I think. That's what I think. And the fact that you called the police. Have you ever been incarcerated before, Miss Jones?
No.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an accountant.
I think that not only did you cause her trouble, because I looked at how many times she had to appear in court based upon your phone call to the police that was fraudulent. She had to appear in court. She had to be embarrassed. There's a certain embarrassment about it. When it was your fault and you lied. And she's entitled to what she's asking for, which is $5,000. And I'm entering a judgment for that. $5,000 for the plaintiff. That's all. Step back.
Now, this is case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Brooks versus Stout.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Brooks, these are your two sons? Mm-hmm. And you're here only because they're minors.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't present during this incident. Is that right?
No.
Why don't you have a seat? And this is your son?
Yes.
And you're here because he's a minor?
Correct.
And you weren't there during the course of this incident,
Correct.
even though if I find in the plaintiff's favor, you're going to have to pay the judgment. But you weren't there. So why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
Now I have before me the idiots. So you're in one car and you're in another car.
No. I was staying on the side of the road.
Tell me what happened, Justin.
We was driving around the square.
Listen to me. How old are you?
16.
Do you go to school?
Yes, I do.
You were driving around.
We were driving around the loop, and we was at a stop sign, and a truck...
You were at a stop sign?
Yes. and a truck was in front of me and a truck was behind me, and they blocked me in. I couldn't move, and like 6 or 7 girls came up kicking out my car and and I couldn't move or anything. And then all of a sudden I see Tyson running up to my car, and
How many people were in your car?
it was me, Dustin, and my ex-girlfriend.
Now, did you know these people in the trucks that were blocking you?
No, I don't.
Where had you been that evening?
I was at my girlfriend's house because that was her birthday.
So did she have a party?
No, it was just
You were
we
just.
yes. I guess.
Go ahead.
Well, it wasn't actually a party. It was just hanging out at her house, and we decided to go cruising, so we went up cruising.
What's cruising?
Well, cruising the loop, like driving around listening
Cruising
to
the
music.
what?
Loop.
Cruising the loop.
Yeah.
What is your version of having fun?
Listening to music and talking to people on the square. That's when that accident happened.
What accident?
That when we got pretty much jumped.
So far, what you've told me is a bunch of girls came up to your car and started to kick the car.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Let's pick it up from there.
Well, he kicked out the window.
But I thought the girls were kicking the
Well,
car.
they were, and then he ran up to the car, kicked the window out, and then...
Which window?
It was the passenger right window.
Pretty high kick.
Yeah.
He kicked the window out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, and then what happened?
And then Dustin was getting out of the car to run, and then Tyson cut his arm.
How did Tyson cut his arm?
I didn't see it because I was.
You didn't see it?
I was driving, so.
You didn't see it. Is that right?
That's right.
So then we go to Dustin.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you twins?
Yes, ma'am.
You always dress alike?
No, ma'am.
Did you do that especially for me today?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you thought it would
Yes, ma'am.
confuse me?
No, ma'am.
You're Dustin.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened to you.
When I was getting out.
What were you getting out for?
To run, because there were so many kids around. I ain't sticking around.
Just a minute. How many kids were around?
Probably 15.
What were they doing around your car?
Actually, I don't know. They don't like me.
Dustin, something tells me something happened before that, Dustin.
Actually, there was nothing happened. They don't like us because in the past there was the girls.
Who's we?
Me and Justin. The girls that they was going out with their boyfriends and everything, and they didn't like us. And
I want you to, at all times when you're testifying, I want you to look in my eyes.
Yes, ma'am.
So the girls didn't like you because they were going out with their boyfriends and blah, 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 blah. I didn't get anything after that. That made sense.
Because we get in fights with them because they don't like us, okay? So
you get in fights with the girls or the boys?
The boys. And so the women hates us for that.
So the girls hate you?
Yes.
Why do you get in fights with the boys, Dustin?
Because I don't know how to read and they pick on me and I ain't taking nobody's crap. It's and that's the reason.
And so because of that, you think that these people don't like you. You don't say anything to them.
No.
You never start up with them.
No.
Does your brother know how to read?
No.
Is there any reason?
Yeah, I don't know. I think
What do you mean you don't know? Do you go for special tutoring?
Yes.
For how long?
For how long? Since we was in kindergarten.
Do you go to school every day?
Yes, ma'am.
Every day?
Not every day, no.
Dustin, don't throw the bull at me. Because if you can drive a car, I assume you have a license, you had to take a test. You had to take, as part of the test, a written test.
We didn't take a written test, ma'am.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
How come?
Because we don't know how to read.
So they allowed you to drive a car without knowing how to read. Stop, go, hazard ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
What state is that?
It's Iowa.
I'm staying out of there. How often do you go to school? Once a week, maybe?
No, ma'am. The reason why we go probably once a week is because we don't get taught nothing, because they didn't teach us timetables or multiplication tables or anything like that.
So now you stay home and cruise.
No, I don't cruise anymore.
So tell me what happened, Dustin, after you were going to get out of the car and run.
Well, I put my left arm up on,
Watch, right here.
I put my left arm up on the door, and I was looking down to push myself up out of the car, and Tyson come up and cut my arm, and I look at him, I see the knife in his hand, and he took off running with everybody else took off running, and Justin tells me to get back in the car, sit down. By then the truck was in front of us, was gone. We took off, went to the hospital.
You went to the
I
hospital?
got 5 stitches, and there's pictures and stuff like that my mom has.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
One of my friends told me because he was going out with one of the girls at the time that they liked. They threatened to kill his baby before.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-olds Justin and Dustin Brooks claim 17-year-old Tyson Stout attacked them with a knife. Tyson says the twins threatened to kill his friend's baby.
Now, were you charged with assault?
No, ma'am.
What were you charged with?
Burglary in the 2nd degree.
Burglary.
Forcing entry into an occupied structure.
Tyson, I want you to tell me, and I want you to be very careful, Tyson, because, you know, I already got their story. I want you to tell me your version. By the way, you go to school in Iowa?
I don't go to school. I got my GED. I'm starting college in February.
Does anybody ever finish high school in your jurisdiction?
No.
No. All right. Tell me what you were doing standing on the side of the road and what was going on at the side of the road where these guys were cruising.
Me and some friends were just standing around.
Listen, you're starting college next year?
Yeah. Some friends and I.
Yeah.
They're standing around talking, having fun, and then these two, they just keep on driving around mouthing and
Mouthing what?
just calling us names and
Like
running
what?
bulls, stuff like that. The F word,
And how many times did they drive around?
probably 2 or 3.
Any of that sound familiar to you? Justin and Dustin?
No, because
Go ahead.
And about the 3rd time they pulled around, we had a car, not a truck, stop them. And one of my friends told me, sticking up for one of my friends, one of them told me that they've threatened to kill his baby before because he was going out with one of the girls at the time that they liked, and she had a baby. And he told me that.
How old was this genius?
At 18.
Go ahead.
I was going to go up and say something to him. He rolled up the window real quick, got mad, kicked the car door.
You went up to the car because you were really mad because a friend of yours told you that somebody disrespected somebody.
Threatened his family.
Threatened his baby.
Yeah.
So that you went up to the car to confront them, which was very
Wrong.
stupid.
Yeah.
And then he did the smart thing. He rolled up the window
Yes.
because he had been doing a very stupid thing, cruising around and calling people names and, you know, just being a general Tweedledum and Tweedledee, being two idiots, right?
Yes.
Because I expect the truth from you. I really expect the whole truth from you. From them, I didn't get the truth so far. All I got from them was they were just driving around being very mild young men because they suffer from a handicap, because they can't read, because they have a disability, because despite the fact that they go to school every day and try very, very hard to learn, they can't learn to read, right?
Yep.
So I expect the truth from you. And you went up to the car, and how many times did you kick the car?
Once.
And when you kicked the car once, did you break the window?
Yes.
What happened next?
I ran to a friend's car, got in the car, and left.
Did you at any time cut Dustin with a knife?
No, ma'am.
Were you ever charged with cutting him with a knife?
No, ma'am.
Anybody have a police report?
Your Honor, I went to get a police report, but they couldn't release it because he was a juvenile.
Nobody has a police report.
I couldn't get one.
Now, you were found guilty of whatever, of vandalizing the car, which you did kick at least once. Burglary.
Yes.
Was this the first time you were convicted of anything, or have you been convicted of something before?
I've had possession of alcohol charge before and assault causing injury before.
Assaulting whom?
A kid is picking on my little sister.
And what did you do to him?
Put him in a headlock, slammed him into the locker.
Tyson, you got to learn to control yourself.
I have.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
Well, you haven't. At least you didn't on that evening, because you went up to the car for no reason. This fight didn't concern you at all.
No.
And you went up there and kicked their car. Now, according to you, Justin, there were a lot of girls around there who were kicking your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you charge any of them?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was not going to get out of my car because there was too many of them, and I'm not going to get out of my car to hit a girl.
I didn't ask you why you didn't hit him. I asked you why you didn't tell the police that there were a lot of people there kicking your car, making dents in your car before he came
We did.
to the
I did,
car.
ma'am.
Did you have damage to your car?
Not by the girls.
How do you know that?
Because I live on a gravel road with and I had a lot of dust on my car, and there was no dents or anything.
So the only damage that was done to your car was him knocking the window out of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
And when I was trying to get out of the car, I accidentally put my foot through, like, where my speaker was, because my foot got caught.
What were you trying to get out of the car for?
Because I was going to run.
15 people around you and you were going to run? Or were you going to fight them?
I was going to run.
Have you ever been arrested before?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
Fighting.
There's no such crime in the penal law as fighting.
Assault.
There's assault in the penal law. And you?
Same thing.
Assault.
Yes.
How many times, Justin, have you been arrested for assault?
Numerous times.
And you, Dustin?
Same thing.
How many times have you been found guilty of assault?
Every time. Because I committed to him.
What do you mean you committed to him?
I said guilty. I told him that I did it. I didn't lie about it.
But you don't learn. Can I see the paperwork on the order of conviction for burglary and any other paperwork that you have with regard to a court order by a judge? Moms, you can stand up now. I want to see it. Tyson, how come you lied initially?
So I didn't want to get in trouble for it.
Who did you lie to, please?
My JCO,
What's JCO?
juvenile court officer.
And when you lied to the juvenile court officer initially, Tyson, did you lie to him the same kind of face that you're lying to me?
No.
I want you to show me your lying face.
Grin.
What?
I have a grin on my face when I lie.
Really? He believed you when you lied to him initially, right?
Yep.
It's just sometimes hard to figure out who's lying and who's not.
Yep.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Ah, right. Because the first time you spoke to your juvenile officer, you told me you didn't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. Well, after you had this problem in 1999, Tyson, you were expelled from school for another problem with another student. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Got a bad temper?
Yep.
Now I'd like to see the paperwork you have as a result of this incident.
I just got medical bills here.
So you didn't turn it into your insurance?
The hospital didn't turn it in, no.
I'm surprised. Why not?
That I have no idea. They didn't turn it in. The insurance cards was there, but they never turn it in.
Well, they will. They will. They should. And your boys are covered?
They're covered.
Mm-hmm. Now I'd like you to come up here, Dustin, because I want to take a look at your arm.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the scar?
Yeah, big one right there. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tyson, I have to make a judgment whether or not you actually cut Dustin with a knife. And it is my belief that you did. Because when somebody is injured like that, and there's no question, I've read the hospital records, and there's no question he had a laceration, and there's no question that he had sutures. When that happens, you want the person who is responsible to be prosecuted. Now, you were, in fact, charged with assault with a weapon. The fact that you pled guilty to cover all the charges and the rest of the charges were dismissed doesn't mean that you were found not guilty of those charges. It means that you pled. It means that you pled out.
Plea bargain.
That's right. Look how smart you're getting. You also have a temper. Now, these two idiots were driving around, and their mother knows that they were driving around doing the wrong thing, right?
Well, yeah.
They were doing the wrong thing, but that doesn't give you license to take out even a pocket knife, which is what you took out, and cut him. It doesn't give you license to do that. You're lucky. You're lucky that they let you get away with it.
But I didn't stab him, ma'am.
Yes, you did. You stabbed him. You didn't stab him. You cut him. I mean, stabbing is this way.
His ex-girlfriend came up to me last week and apologized for lying to the cops about it.
Listen, you tell me who cut him.
Nobody did.
Sure they did. He was cut.
He cut himself.
How?
With a knife?
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
You think that he's dumb enough to do that? I mean, it's possible.
Yes, I do.
It's possible that he's dumb enough to do that. Possible. I don't think so. And the problem is that you put yourself in the situation by going over, getting involved in a situation that you had absolutely no reason to be involved with. Somebody said something made you mad. You went up to the car, kicked the car, knocked the window out. Stupid. The fact that you started it because you were looking for trouble, driving around, shouting out of the car, you were with your girlfriend, it was her birthday, your mother shouldn't have let you drive a car anyway. They don't go to school. You explain to me why they don't go to school.
They've been on add and subtract since they've been in 2nd grade, and I'm tired of it. 95% of the kids in Iowa get their GED.
In any event, I find that you cut them. I also find that they're a little bit culpable themselves and that they had no out-of-pocket expenses with regard to this injury because the insurance is going to cover it. Now, did he pay for breaking the window?
No, I've got the estimate on.
Just tell me how much it was for breaking the window.
The window is at $189, but I've got pictures of other damages that was done to the car.
I don't care what the other damage was done to the car. There were 12 girls around the car that they chose not to identify because your son said, well, we live on a dirt road and the car was very dirty. He went up, he kicked the car, he kicked the window out of the car, and there were 12 other people involved. So it's $189 for the car and $1,000 for cutting him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,189. That's all.
Now, this is case number 218 on the calendar in the matter of...
relax. টাপ করে কোনো পড়বে আমি সেই একটা ড্যান্স বন্দি ভিডিও ডাউন করলাম সাপ করে পড়বে না কলাম ফোনটা আমার কাছে দে ভাই পড়ার আগে Vinny, Vinny, Vinny. Karim Benzema. আল্লাহ আল্লাহ বলে খালি ওইটা উঠে যাক আমি তাই খুশি হতাম আরে পানি উঠে যাচ্ছে আর বেশিক্ষণ থাকবেন না এবারে ডুবল আরে উঠে গেছে ভাই আলহামদুলিল্লাহ আগের দিন আমি পড়েছি আজকে তোর তোর বালা সাদা তো একেবারে কাদা হয়ে যাবে কালা কালা কাদাই কাদা এইবার আয় কাছে আয় দেখছেন আর আসতে না ঠেলা দেয় ঠিক পাঠাই দেয় দাঁড়া এতে ডুঙ্গা বান্ধা রয়েছে তা পড়ে না কে পটটা না আবার পড়ি